Okay, in this video we're going to start looking at file handling. The position we're in at the moment, if you look at the screen, is the fact that we've got our insertion sort all working. Really this video doesn't require insertion sort, but as we're concentrating on this for our project, then we will be building up this file to include all of our file routines and our string handling routines, but really this video will stand aside and be separate. What I really want to look at is files that contain more than one item on a line. That's where I want to go. It'll take a few videos to actually get there, but that's what I'm looking at. We're going to start off with this one, names.txt, because that's what we've been doing in class. We've learned how to read a file, how to get the data out of a file and play around with it. So we're going to start at that position. If this is the first time you've seen file handling, then it'll be useful to you as well. So let's nip over to our Python and just create a new file. I'm not going to do any designs, for example, like this at the moment. I'd expect you to sort of understand or know how to write these. We've done them plenty of times for file handling. Again, if this is new to you, then hopefully you'll take this on board when we look at the diagrams. So my new file, save it first. We're going to call this file1.py. Now in file handling we can do three things with files. We can read a file, find out what's in it. We can write a file, put things in it, or we can append a file, put things on the end of a file. So there's three things we can do, and in this video I'm really wanting to look at reading files. There's a few tricks and tips in Python and in other languages that you need to be aware of to read files, and in particular with Python, when we come to using routines such as sorting, we will find that when we come to compare our item with an item in the file, we have a problem, because the file contains a little bit something different to what you've actually taken in on the keyboard, and we may need to manipulate our program to do that. So that's really what I want to show you in this particular video. So let's just get on with it. To begin with, we're going to create a function which reads a file, def get file. Let's call it let's get file data. That will do nicely. And when I've got that file, I'm going to return the data to my program so that I can play around with it. Then I'm going to have my main program. Just going to set it up. Data is empty, so I'm going to start off with data, actually with empty data, and then I'm going to get the file data from the function, and then I'm going to print that to the screen so I can examine what's going on. Now I need to know what the file name is. At the moment I'm not passing any parameters, and probably haven't done in previous lessons. So what I'm actually going to do is keep reusing this for any file that I want by passing the file name in here. So the one that I want is names.txt. So if I go and check that on here, this is names.txt. It's the file that I want. It's in the same folder. If we take a look here, names.txt is there, and my file one is there. If they were in different folders, this would not work. I'd have to specify the path where it was, but more of that later. But because now I'm passing a parameter here, I need to have a matching parameter there, and I'm just going to call it file name. Let's be consistent. There we go. Let's have camel case. So I'm passing names.txt in, and file name will equal names.txt. I could, if I wanted to do later, use the same function, get file data, and instead of passing names.txt, I could pass this one scores.txt. that would read the scores.txt file, but I wouldn't have to change anything in my function here. That's a really nice feature. Get used to passing whatever you want in, rather than changing things later. So first thing I need to do is open the file. So f equals open the file name, and we want to open it for reading. Remember, I said it earlier, we could read, write or append, so that's either an R for reading, W for writing, A for appending. That's all I need to do. And then just say f.readLines, but I need to send that into something. I need to have data hold that, because I'm returning data here. So that is going to be a list of whatever's in here. David, Eric, Marcus. I'm going to have a list containing 3 items. And finally f.close, so that I can delete the file or play around with the file at a later stage or from a different program. If I don't close it, then I'm going to have some issues. So that's my program. It should work. There's 1 or 2 edits that I really need to do to it because it's not very satisfactory. It's sufficient for what I want to do at the moment. So I'm going to save and run my module, and hopefully I'm going to get, there we go, David, Eric and Marcus. But what I really want you to notice, let's run that one again so we get a clear shell. What I really want you to notice is that it's not David, it's not Eric, and it's, well, it is Marcus. It's David with a \n for a new line, Eric with a \n for a new line, and Marcus. If I had come back to my file and just pressed enter, then I would have exactly the same for all 3. They would all have a new line at the end of them. And this is really where I want to take you. So if I run my program again, that's file 1, yep, run it again. This time I've got all 3 having a \n. Now when I come to compare names, and I'll do it in the shell, if I've got David, and if I'm checking if David equals David \n, looking for my / on my keyboard, there we go. Let's make those a string. Let's see if this works in the shell. If I'm comparing these 2 things, they're actually different. Okay. So that should say false. And just to prove it, if I was going to see if they were comparable, if I put the / on that David and check that one, it should say true. So really, when I read my values from the file, although the file I'm looking at doesn't show it, there's an invisible new line on the end of each of these items. And when I try to compare them, David and David, even though I think David here, and in my sorted program, if I've got David passed in, they will be different. This test will fail. Okay, that won't work because they're not the same item. So I have to think about that in my program, and there's 2 ways I can deal with it. Either when I read the items in, if I read the items in, I can actually close these down so I can get my shell. I can either take these new lines off when I read the file in so that I've just got the words properly, or I can add a new line onto whatever I'm trying to test. So it's probably not making a great deal of sense, but if I was in my program, rather than saying item equals David, I would have to say that item equals David \n for them to check properly whether they're going to be inserted correctly in the list. Bit of a problem, a bit wishy-washy. There is a method that we can use which is going to sort of save us all this aggravation, and we can actually forget all about doing this. In other words, thinking whether I've got new lines on the end or not. Now that comes down to string handling, so we'll take a look at string handling in the next video and see how we can actually sort of improve our program and stop this problem from happening.